Hello, Tushar. How are you today and where are you dialing from?
Hi, Kate. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm dialing in from Delhi, New Delhi, India.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking your time today and joining my hot seat session, the purpose of which is to help companies all over the world address their blind spots and gain competitive edge with the help of our wonderful mentors. And today we're going to talk about global challenges and economics, and I'm really excited about this. But first of all, I'd like to learn more about you. So tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Kate. I'm Tushar Kansal. My company is Consultancy Ventures. I'm a thought leader and a thought influencer. I write on a variety of topics and appear in various platforms. Over the years, my company has supported startups and growth stage companies in diverse technology and non technology sectors. I'm also a venture advisor with a Canadian venture capital fund called Loyal VC, and we have invested in over 300 companies across 60 countries. I do two podcasts. One is a corporate podcast called Right, and the other one is a spiritual podcast called Aradhya by Tushar Kansal. Uh, and done more than 300 of them, raised a lot of funding for a number of startups, helped more than 5,000 startups in the process. This is about me academically. I've been trained from Harvard Business School and have won four awards, including from the hands of India's first IPS officer, Dr. Kiran Bedi.
Oh, this is wonderful. You're a very diverse person. Having two podcasts on a completely different themes, this is wonderful. So before we deep dive into our topic, first of all, I'd like to ask, can you tell me what are some key global economic challenges that businesses are facing right now at this moment?
The global economy is facing a lot of headwinds. 2023 has seen a slower global investment, down $294 billion as compared to $330 billion in 2022. And global sustainable investment, although is increasing, but it is still not there. The global GDP growth rate is falling, and as we speak, Germany is in a recession, and UK is staring at a recession, and technically, US might be in a recession with high inflation and very high interest rates. China, on the other hand, is in a deflationary scenario as compared to Japan many years back, and record unemployment in China, almost 21.5% unemployment, after which they stopped publishing the data. So there is slower growth. There is a problem. Many nations are diversifying their economies. Populism and nationalism is rising very hard because of high inflation. And there are a lot of economic challenges like aging populations in Japan and Europe. And there is a redistribution of power from the west to the east and from the north, uh, not so much towards the south as much as from the west towards the east. And if you look at the figures, the GDP by purchasing power parity, China is bigger than US today on that basis, and it has seen a vertical GDP growth. And right now, Indonesia and India, and to some extent, Brazil and South Africa, they are kind of revving their way towards larger GDP growth. And you can see the popularity of free trade agreements like RCEP, which are totally China centric, and the total GDP of BRICS nations exceeds the total GDP of G7 economies today. So this shows you where is the world heading, and uh, you can see it in geopolitics also. Like Saudis have shaken hands with Iran, and now they are shaking hands with Israel, and the Russian economy has stood strongly in spite of the US blocking $300 billion of its foreign currency reserves. And there is a China plus one and minus China strategy going around. So manufacturing is moving from China to Vietnam, India, and Mexico. So these are the headwinds. Apple now produces almost $7 billion worth of manufacturing iPhones from India, and is saying it will increase it to $40 billion. All these factors, the whole economy, the global economy is shaken up in a way.
Absolutely. I just saw the news about the manufacturing of iPhones moving to India, and I was really surprised. So, it all sounds as we are doomed because it sounds really, really scary. But I'd like to know what are some maybe long term implications of all these challenges for businesses?
Well, that's a good question, Kate. Basically, Thomas Friedman, he had come out with a book, "The World is Flat," and subsequent to that, the World Trade Organization had been formed, and China was admitted as a country with market economy status, which means that there is no government intervention, which was absolutely wrong, because it was very much government controlled. So now we are seeing deglobalization, and there are a number of trade restrictions. If you look at the data published by IMF, the total number of trade restrictions imposed were 500 in 2016 and 2500 plus now. So it is leading to collapse of World Trade Organization and rise of bilateral trade agreements. And if you look at even the WTO, the US has been blocking the appointment of new judges to the WTO appellate body, so that it kind of paralyzing it. And if you look at the number of companies profiled by Goldman Sachs, there has been a rise in number of profitless companies, because companies who never made a profit, and because of the rising interest rates, money is costly for them and they will never make a profit still. So companies are facing a lot of headwinds. Brexit was one headwind for the UK based companies. Then the Russia Ukraine war came in, impacting wheat and fertilizer. And oil and gas markets, is very costly. And so all these factors are happening, and we must not forget that the global inflation eats up into the savings of the people. So 80% of poor people in the US, they have lost all their savings with the high inflation. And inflation affects companies in the sense that their pricing strategies, their production cost, and they have to look at consumer demand as well. And they eat into profit margins, and customers reduce their spending. And you look at Venezuela, with hyperinflation, the whole economy got impacted, and its currency became worthless. So you can say that we are facing headwinds on supply chain resilience, sustainability, innovation and technology, from high levels of debt with consumers, companies, and countries, very high levels of debt. So managing that kind of interest cost is a issue. Then there is a talent management issue, and the issue of inclusive growth.
Oh wow. Well, actually, now that we know all of these, downside of what is happening in the world, I feel we are here at GLEAC. We're trying to, on the other hand, help companies face the problem and be able to navigate it successfully. So my question to you is, you've mentioned technologies and innovation, and I would really like to ask you, I know that all over the world, all of the businesses, whether you're a startup or just an established company, corporate company, we are facing this boom of technological advances everywhere. It's so fast. Just within the year, we had so many different softwares popping up everywhere. Can they actually help businesses navigate this economic challenges? Actually being innovative and using all of these new emerging solutions.
Again, a very good question, Kate. So basically, technology is an enabler, and we must not forget the fact, if your competitor is using technology, then if you don't use it, you might lose out, because the other person is saving cost, and the other person is becoming more efficient. He's becoming more scalable. So that's what we saw, what South Korea did many years back, that they realized that they cannot compete with the big multinationals of the US. So they created their own huge companies. So instead of an India like strategy of focusing on small and medium enterprises. They created she bowls. She bowls were Samsung, LG, Daewoo, uh, all those big companies. And now these companies they are market leaders across the world. So we must not forget that. But technology is also a double-edged sword in the sense that India and China, we are large populations. So if you try to replace the populations with robos, then there would be a pushback, because especially in the case of India, we are a democracy. So the leadership is very very cognizant of the fact that they have to utilize technology, which is a must to compete with other companies, but they have to do it in a way which is inclusive, and which creates fresh employment. And for that, you have to enable people by upskilling and cross skilling them, so that they can be not only users of the technology, but also they could create companies with that technology. And I feel that technology, it increases productivity, automation, artificial intelligence, robotics. It reduces cost like cloud computing. It creates new market opportunities like e-commerce and digital platforms. They came in and they disrupted the retail sector. It improves access to information, so the management can make informed decisions. It enhances financial services like innovation like blockchain and so on. It also augurs environmental sustainability because it enables cleaner energy production like solar and wind power. And we are world might face a water crisis, so desalination will have to be, it has to be very much, innovation has to be there in desalination, so that cheaper desalinated water can be provided to a lot of areas. And healthcare advancements like telemedicine and medical devices, education and skills using platforms. And uh, and there is also a sense of resilience and adaptation which technology brings, like in supply chain logistics, disaster preparedness, like during the COVID pandemic. And lastly, it also improves government efficiency, streamlining government delivery, reducing bureaucracy, and improving transparency and accountability. So I feel that in today's world, you have to ride on technology, adapt it, and use it in the way which suits your particular economy, which suits your particular conditions.
Thank you so much. It actually gives us a lot of hope, what you mentioned just now. And I like that you said that technology is enabler. It's not our replacer. We shouldn't be scared of this taking away our job. As long as we can adapt and use the technology to invent something new, not just replace us, we're gonna do great. I love hearing this. And what are some other strategies or tools that businesses can use to actually how can I say, actually, proactively react to all these challenges instead of merely reacting to them, as we've noticed, during COVID-19, that a lot of companies, they weren't prepared at all.
Well, to my mind, companies can, you have to be very, so to say, you have to act fast. For example, uh, if there is economic volatility, you have to adapt to it by diversification of your business to manage the risk, to create resilient supply chains. For example, right now, as we are sitting, I'm sitting in India right now, there is a government project wherein all the infrastructure which is created across ports, river transport, road transport, rail transport, and the flights, all that infrastructure, it is being mapped, and so to bring efficiency. And the right amount of investment should go in to create a seamless supply chain. So that is one thing. Then there is you have to deal with geopolitical uncertainties, so market analysis, that is one solution. Then you have to partner with other global firms and diversified sourcing. So China was in a lockdown, for a prolonged lockdown, and all the supply chains were coming through China. So the countries, they felt that they had to diversify the supply chains, and now we are increasingly seeing, for example, in the recent G20, the India, Middle East, and Europe corridor has been announced. So it will be a competition to China's Belt and Road initiative. And then, embracing technology and innovation, digital transformation, that is the buzzword. And a culture of innovation in your company, investment in research and development. And although the climate agenda is seeing a lot of pickup after the Paris Accord, but still, if you look at the amount of work which has been done under the targets given in the Paris Accord, only 20% targets have been met. So, there is a lot of sustainability and environmental responsibility which has to be built into the way governments are doing their business, as also private companies. Also, consumer-centric approach is one way that businesses can proactively adapt to economic challenges. For example, data analysis, personalization using artificial intelligence, which the smartphone does all the time, and social responsibility. Also, global talent management has to be done with a diverse workforce, skills development, and adaptable leadership. I feel that a culture of continuous learning and adaptation, uh, by using market research, scenario planning, and agility will go a long way for companies to address the challenges faced on the economic front. I give you some examples. Companies known to me, growth stage companies, they have been changing their sourcing. So, if you look at the US companies, they're sourcing now from Mexico and Vietnam and India. And pricing, if you look at, if you go to Dubai, then the price of the soft drink is different at each place. So there is an incentive built on how good a brand can you create. So this is not true for other countries like India, where you have to sell on a maximum retail price. So Uber came with surge pricing, and this was something new to India, that at the peak hours you can charge more. So India took some time to adapt, but now surge pricing is coming in a lot of services in India, and that will address the profit factor of a lot of companies. McDonald's has created Indian flavored food, even KFC. So this is example of localization. And if you look at engineering and technology, then in the fintech space, the Unified Payments Interface (UPI), which is a hit in India, which has made India into a leader in digital payment space in the world, with more amount of transactions, even higher than China. So that is being adopted by almost 25 to 30 countries. So I feel that all these factors, they can go a long way in helping businesses address the global economic challenges.
No, I'm really happy because I had some questions left for you about sustainability and government, but you managed to answer all of them. It was so insightful and so interesting. You mentioned all of them, especially I'm a huge advocate for sustainability, and I love that right now when it comes to businesses, it's not just about them trying to be aware of what is going on in the world. These are customers and their own operational costs that are making them to switch, for example, from linear economy to circular one. And I'm really happy that this tendency is happening and a lot of businesses are being aware of that. But before we wrap up, maybe you have some farewell words or closing words that you would like to tell businesses when it comes to facing global economic challenges.
Well, I would like to, advise businesses to, there is a day zero mentality. So when you start a new business, all the teams, they're like school children. They are looking forward to something great happening, and they keep their individual differences aside, because there is no bureaucracy, right? So there is a day zero mentality which has to be there. And you know I remember Steve Jobs telling in one of the videos that he doesn't make committees in his company, even if the company has grown so much. So the decision making, starts getting worse if there are too many people making a decision. So you have to empower your teams, uh, keep the right talent. So meritocracy has to be promoted in your company, so that the most talented person for a particular job is making the decisions, and you have to enable them by giving them the power to even make mistakes. Because if you are not giving them a chance to make mistakes, then somebody who has not done anything in life, will never make any mistakes. So you have to actually enable them to make mistakes, and take quality decisions, learn over a period of time. So a knowledge learning company which goes up on the ladder. And all these culture can even beat strategy. Like somebody said, culture beats strategy for breakfast. So I feel that ultimately it goes down to having quality teams, quality leadership, and building a culture which is diverse and inclusive, which also understands that we are a part of the environment, also part of a culture, part of a society, and hence we are a stakeholders in all this ecosystem. So sustainability also gets built in the decisions taken by the company. uh, this is my advice to all the
Thank you.
companies.
These are very wise words. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge today. I actually would call it a power packed session because in just 20 minutes you managed to cover everything when it comes to global economic challenges. And I truly appreciate it. And I hope our audience did as well. So I'm looking forward for you as a mentor helping our companies face these challenges and any other topic that you're expert in. So if our audience enjoyed this conversation, I encourage you to go check our caption and see how you can work with Tushar to solve your business problems. Thank you again, Tushar,
Thank
for
you,
taking
Kate.
your
Thank you
time.
so much for having me. Thank you, GLEAC, for this platform.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to see you again, thriving in our community. Thank
Likewise.
you.
Thank you. Have a good day.